And good morning world, it's about 11:30 a.m. and it is Thursday the 30th of April 2020. This is my global forecast for May 2020. Later today, in about 4 hours time, there will be 4 new videos coming up from me, and I'll be looking at, in the days as coronavirus begins to de-escalate in the majority of places, although it's still going on big time in other places in the world, I'm going to be looking at who, as we approach the middle of 2020, who is getting affected at the moment by Pluto, and then by Uranus, by Neptune and by Saturn. But that's later today, so tune in about 3 or 4 hours time. There'll be some new videos up. Meantime, on with a global forecast for May. Now, I've had a good look at May 2020 in the light of where we are collectively in the world, and May is a very unusual month astrologically. It's unusual because there are basically no significant aspects going on. There's no big oppositions or squares or conjunctions. Yes, Mercury will conjunct Uranus in about 24 hours time. And at the very end of May, Mercury will conjunct the North Node, but that's about it. So there's no aspects, which is very unusual for a month. What is happening, though, is that we are in the middle of a major period where so many planets are going retrograde. There's going to come a time next month, just after the solstice, where there's going to be 6 planets retrograde. Just after solstice, we'll have Mercury and Venus, Jupiter and Saturn, Neptune and Pluto all retrograde. The only planets that won't be retrograde at that time will be Mars and Uranus. But that's still about 7 weeks away, 8 weeks away. As we speak, Pluto went retrograde about a week ago. Pluto is now moving forward. Moving backwards. Saturn goes retrograde early morning UK time on the 11th of May. Venus goes retrograde early morning UK time on the 13th of May. And Jupiter goes retrograde midday-ish UK time on the 14th of May. So over a 3.5 day period, at the end of the second week of May, 3 planets, Venus, Jupiter and Saturn, go retrograde. And Mercury and Neptune will be going retrograde in the middle of next month as well. So when you're born with 1 or 2 retrograde planets, as many people are, then the effects of those planets, the influence of those planets, is normally to be experienced at an internal level rather than external. Instead of you reacting to external stimuli and events governed by those planets, what normally happens is that you consider the events and the stimuli, you take it in, reflect upon it, consider it, mull it over, and then make decisions and actions. And that's the difference between being born with retrograde planets and planets moving forward. If they're retrograde in your birth chart, then you think things over. If you're born with lots of retrograde planets, as a number of people are, it does seem as if you're on a different type of headspace than most other people, in that you're able to see the world in a different way, much more internalized, much more detached and impersonal and objective, and sometimes you think you're born on the wrong planet at the wrong time. When there's a lot of planets in retrograde in the sky, as there will be later this month, from the middle of the month there will be 4 planets retrograde, and by June there'll be 6, then it seems that what's coming up is that we're collectively heading into a month or 2 of much more retrospect, reassessment, reevaluation and reconsideration. With the big 3 in Capricorn, well, Saturn's in Aquarius at the moment, but it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn, with Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto all going to be retrograde by the middle of the month, and with Venus retrograde as well, and we'll come to that one in a minute. I suggest that in the majority of the world, that the effects of the coronavirus are going to be decreasing. I've been doing so many charts in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and most people's charts are just the same, but they're all going to be going back to work in some shape or form by the middle end of May, 3rd week of May, 2nd week of May. Although going back to work the way it was isn't a permanent option for the future, and I've discussed that before and I will discuss it again. Things are going to be permanently changing later this year in terms of the way we work. Over the last couple of months, Venus has given us an absolutely spectacular light show. Mainly because the skies have been so damn clear, because there's not been any blooming planes obscuring the sky, and the weather's been great, no pollution. So we've been able to see Venus and the moon in spectacular detail, and it's been beautiful to watch. Now Venus is really beginning to sink lower on the horizon. Each night now, you're going to see it slightly lower at the same time than it was the previous night. And then it's going to go retrograde, and it's really going to start plummeting. And by the time we're into the end of May, Venus is going to have disappeared from our night skies. So grab it while it's there. The next week or two is the best time to see it, and then after that it's going to get lower and lower, and then it's going to disappear. It will reappear again. By the time we're into, say, the solstice, middle of June, Venus will reappear in the morning as the morning star. But at the moment it's the evening star, and it's going to disappear around about the middle of this month. So get your telescopes out and grab it while you can. The Venus retrograde in Gemini, Geminis, aren't you lucky? Especially those people born in the first 10 days of June. You've got almost 2 months of having Venus hovering around your sun. Just don't get too fat. I quite like this Venus retrograde. It's not creating any difficult aspects to anything else. Healthy enough. Healthy enough. But when you look at all the other planets, Mars is in Aquarius during May, moving forward, and then halfway through the month it moves into Pisces. Nothing really significant here in terms of meaning, but Mars is inching closer and closer to Aries, and Mars will be spending 6 to 7 months in Aries. The second half of this year, from the start of July onwards, Mars is in Aries until the start of 2021. That's massive, and I will be doing a lot of stuff on that later on. As I say, Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto are going retrograde. Neptune and Uranus are still moving forward, although Neptune is slowing down rapidly. Mercury is bucking the trend during May. Mercury is accelerating. Mercury conjuncts Uranus today. It'll be conjuncting the Sun around Monday or Tuesday of next week, around the 4th or 5th. And then it's going to be accelerating forward through Taurus. It's going to whiz through Gemini. Mercury's going to be in Gemini for about 2 weeks, from about the 12th through to about the 28th, 2 and a bit weeks. And then it's going to move into Cancer, where it will eventually go retrograde in the middle of next month. So there's not going to be a problems around communication. But with all these planets going retrograde, there is going to be a kind of reset. There's going to be a reassessment of where we've been, of where we are, and how we want the world to be in the future. I saw a very, very disturbing video a couple of days ago around legislation passed by the British Parliament in the last couple of days on the 27th of April around mandatory vaccinations. Just by saying those 2 words, I know I'm going to get lots of people sending me lots of videos saying it's all a government conspiracy and it's all Bill Gates and it's horrible. I don't know about any of that, and I'm not going to get into that because it just buys into the fear. However, I can only speak for myself. Regarding mandatory vaccinations, OMDB, over my dead body, they will have to drag me by force from my home and hold me down to administer a vaccination. And besides that, there's plenty of homeopathic treatments which can cancel the effects of vaccinations. Not going to happen to me. And that's something we need to look at in the future. But that level of compulsory government intrusion, I'm sure it's only a safeguard and it probably won't happen, but the fact that it's in a statute in law gives me cause for concern. And if it's in British law, it's probably going to be in other countries' laws as well. So pause for thought there. But overall, May is a month of reassessment, retrospect, and hopefully considering new options for the future, pointing ourselves in different directions. Do we really need to fly so much? Do we really need to go back to the beehive attitude of office work? Things are going to change over the coming few months, and many of the changes will be rooted in the decisions that we make in this coming month. So May is very much a reflective month. Catch you later today for another 4 videos on who particularly is being affected. Bye now.